What's up, Teeters? This is Tree from treeoflogic.com. So I am going to enjoy this video because I'm going to spill a little tea on your boy Marc Lamont here. Not only is he a racist, and please, you don't have to have power plus prejudice, which he does have against white people in order to be racist as a black person, but he is. He really don't like white people. But I know him personally, actually. So let me just tell you a little bit of quick background about Marc Lamont. Marc Lamont used to live in Georgia. He used to be part of a cult under this guy right here, Dr. Malachi Z. York. Now, Malachi he's not a real doctor, by the way, never went to school, blah, blah, blah. He just gave himself a title. But Malachi has actually been the biggest con artist in the black community. And he had a huge compound, a cult compound over there in East Atlanta, way in the Boondocks area, right? And they put pyramids and they made the place look like it was Egypt. And they were all dressed like Egyptians, but they would have the fez on, and the fez part came from the Moors. It was something to see. I've visited that place only once, and I only needed to visit only once. But anyway, as you all, those of you who have kept up with that story, as you all know, he's currently in jail serving a 135-year sentence for being a pie with some dough and office files, okay? And yeah, and the thing about it is that what Mark knew what was happening, and Mark had people come in and tell him about it, along with other men, okay, about what Malachi York was doing, and he wouldn't do anything. Instead of him actually standing up or actually just basically working with the police to help save those innocent people, he decided to leave. This is one thing, I don't take these race hustlers seriously. They are just as bad as any white supremacists they want to point the finger to, any Klansman that they want to point the finger to. So he left that cult and went on to do other things. I think if I'm not mistaken, he used to work on Fox to be the opponent against Bill O'Reilly. And then he recently got fired from CNN for actually being anti-Semitic. But when he left the Nubian Nation, oh yeah, that place, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you guys, that compound was called the United Nubian Nation of Moors. That's what that compound was called. And I could probably do a video on it, but I don't really care that much to talk about it because it's all on the internet if you really want to do some research. I could probably tell you my personal experience dealing with these crazy people, but you know, I'll probably do it on another time. But anyway, so he left Dr. Malachi York's cult, and then he went and joined the Nation of Islam. And I think that's the reason why he still stays in the closet, because he's still affiliated with these groups, and they look down upon men that are out and profess themselves to be gay. They don't like them to be out of the closet, and so he's still staying in the closet. So there's the tea on that. Now, I watched this entire thing, as you can see right here, it's towards the end. But I want to tell you guys, this was very fascinating to watch. If you ever want to watch a liberal try to derail you off of a debate topics by getting into semantics, by actually saying, you know, when you're actually saying, well, this particular professor is teaching critical race theory, Mark will interrupt you and say, but he's not a critical race theory advocate. Who cares if he's an advocate? He's still teaching critical race theory. And then he'll get into the semantics, and I actually have to give props to this young lady, Liz Wheeler. I don't know who she is, but she did very well. If my only critique on her is that she should have been a little bit more aggressive in the beginning. She got more aggressive towards the end that's when Marc was getting all triggered. But if you want to see how to handle Marc, go look at the video interview he did with Judge Joe Brown. Judge Joe Brown is a king alpha male, okay? Old school alpha male, and he just wiped the floor with Marc. It was so wonderful to see. He would not, Marc would try to talk over him. Judge Joe Brown would keep on talking, he was not having it. He did not respect Marc at all, but he didn't have to cuss him out or talk down upon him. He just basically gave him facts, and you could just see the difference between the generations when you see the DL effeminate black men versus the masculine alpha black men like Joe Brown. But anyway, the video that they have out on Twitter with him admitting that white people are inherently racist. We can go to that video now. It's cut out of context. And so I want you guys to see the full context of it. Hold on a second.
Do you believe that? Do you believe?
Hold on, here we go. So it's like 11 second clip. She asked me if I think all white people are racist, and he's proud of saying that. He is so proud, like, yes, I do. So here we go.
Do you believe that? Do you believe all white people are inherently racist?
So I don't know if you're backing me into a corner with that question, but yes, I do.
Do you believe?
Okay. But he said more crazy things after that. So I thought it was suspect. See, this is why I went to the YouTube channel, because Marc made this video. Marc cut this video. She didn't cut this video. He did. And I thought, why would you just cut it off like that? Why would you do that? Like 11 seconds. So I went over here, and I think right here is where he gets triggered. And then this is where she asked the question. And I want to tell you guys something. When you are handing this man some L's when he ends his show under 25 to 30 minutes. This video was only 13 minutes long, and that's because she was doing such a good job basically crushing the credibility of critical race theory. She was like handing him a bunch of L's when he was getting all caught up in semantics. She wasn't having it. She did a good job. I'm very proud of this woman. But let's watch the whole thing in full context.
Not a good analogy.
Just because we throw labels on things doesn't make it
not a good analogy, because critical theory. So going back to critical theory teaches that there's no objective truth, right? That there's just competing narratives. And they teach that the worker class isn't going to rise up against the elite class.
So this is where he gets, he gets so triggered. He gets so triggered because this was so brilliant of her. This was so brilliant of her to show like, hey, this is how they sneak in Marxism. Okay, this is how they're actually trying to destroy the foundation of our country by indoctrinating kids in elementary school, middle school, high school, and even in graduate school and college and universities by just slipping in this Marxism. It doesn't matter if you call these lesson plans critical race theory or not. I don't get caught up in the semantics of things. I get caught up in the meat of the matter. And the meat of the matter is saying that all white people are inherently racist. That is anti-white. And all white people are operating consciously or unconsciously under whiteness. If you get rid of that word whiteness, because like imagine having that word blackness used against black people. Black folks will lose their mind if they were like, well, 1350 is operating under blackness. I mean, folks would just riot in the streets and they would never allow anyone to use blackness as a derogatory slur against black people. And so therefore, when I had my debate with a black liberal who just tried to use whiteness, I actually made him accountable for the definition of that. I want to hear their blatant racism against whites when they want to use the word whiteness, painting anybody who act white like me. I'm accused of operating in whiteness. Whenever I go against critical race theory, I am operating under whiteness. Not me as a black woman, but operating under whiteness, because white anything is evil. So it's really amazing he gets caught up in the semantics. She was clear on it, she got on it, and she did a wonderful job. But let's go ahead and finish playing this.
The government to implement Marxism. Listen to what I'm saying. This is an important point that I'm making. This is an important point that I'm making. If you want to have a productive conversation, I think you're going to be interested in this.
I am interested in it, but what I'm asking you is,
Herbert Marcuse identified racial minorities in America. Herbert Marcuse, a critical race theory scholar, as you know, identified racial minorities in the United States
is not a critical race
as
scholar.
the vanguard, the new vanguard, the new worker to usher in a Marxist revolution. To do this, you have to use this racialism, use this racial divide as a tool to paint all white people as inherently racist. Do you believe that? Do you believe all white people are inherently racist?
Yeah,
so
agreed.
I don't know if you're backing me into a corner with that question, but yes, I do. I do believe that all white people are, at some level, at the unconscious level, connected to racism.
At some level, at some unconscious level, connected to racism. Look at that word salad. Just go ahead and say, yes, all white people are inherently racist. Why are you bringing all these word salads in here? Let's see if I can get him to repeat that. Because he's saying a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm like trying to get everything on this.
Into a corner with that question, but yes, I do. I do believe that all white people are, at some level, at the unconscious level.
At some level, at the unconscious level. I do believe all white people at some level, at the unconscious level,
connected to racism.
Connected to racism. I do believe all white people, he used the hashtag all, not some white people. He used the hashtag all. I do believe at some level, all white people at some level are connected to racism. And I think he's about to say at an unconscious level. Hold on, let me see.
It's unavoidable. I think all men are sexist.
Hold on a second before you get to the men part. Did he say unconscious already?
At some level, at the unconscious level, connected to racism. It's unavoidable. I think all men.
Okay, before you get into the all men being sexist, okay? So this is Marxism. This is commie thinking. So all men are bad, but what he's doing is he's being disingenuous here. He's not saying all men are sexist. He's saying all white men are sexist. And if she had known his background, she would have been like, oh, including black men? And then he would have been like, no, I mean all white men. So he's actually lying by omission here. When he says all men are sexist at some point, he is saying white men.
I don't know if you're backing me into a corner with that question, but yes, I do. I do believe that all white people are, at some level, at the unconscious level, connected to racism. It's unavoidable. I think all men are sexist at some level. I think that
it's unavoidable for it's unavoidable for white people to not be inherently racist. But the base is like all men are sexist. And I'm telling you, he doesn't. If you listen, if anybody have any way of getting Mark to respond to you, if you want to see what I'm talking about, take that video clip or go to his Twitter page profile and say, Mark, when you say all men are sexist, does that apply to black men? And I promise you millions of dollars I don't have that he will say, well, white men, since this country is led and ran and organized and run and whatever by white men. Because it's always white people are evil. They're inherently evil. But the worst of white people are white men. That's what you got to actually understand when it comes to this type of lingo with Marc. Now, one last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to end the video in reference to Marc, okay? One thing about Marc is I do believe that after dealing with Dr. Malachi York and after dealing with the Nation of Islam, I think Marc came to conclusion that I came to the conclusion back in the 90s, because it was in the 90s, the same time I do believe in I think in the mid 90s, when I realized, you know what, I've been lied to. I've been lied to in reference to the oppression of black folks and blah blah blah. But when you actually come to this awakening, when you actually come to this realization, you have to make a choice. You have to either be quiet and pretend that black people are oppressed, which we are not, or separate yourself from that rhetoric. Then you can also go your own way and just leave the black community, or you can become a race hustler. Now, when it comes to Marc found a good niche when it comes to CRT. This is where he can get paid. Now, the good news is that there's an expiration date to critical race theory. It is going to be coming to an end. They are not going to die on this hill, but they will repackage it in another form and call it something else. And you have to be vigilant. You have to be on point, but you also have to remember the key words that they use in critical race theory. And one of those key words is whiteness. Okay, oh wow, this video went longer than I anticipated, but let me know what you think. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will be very active in the comment section every first 2 hours of the video, and then after that, I have to do other things. So leave your comment below. Make sure you leave a like, and I will see you next time. Later, taters.